disturbing Slender Man encounter in Mendocino. This is an account that was shared by a man called Xavier G on backpackerverse.com in Mendocino, California. He says he had dropped off his younger sister for karate practice in the evening as the sun was setting and decided to go for a drive while he waited for her class to finish. As he was driving along some backcountry roads, he realized the road was becoming thinner and he could no longer see other houses and cars. He came to a point where he decided to turn around when his radio cut out, something that had never happened to him before. He said, "I started fiddling with the dials, but all I could get out of it was silence. This is when I started to feel creeped out and I decided to make a U-turn. As I stopped my car, I jumped at the sight of a mysterious figure standing in the middle of the road. The man was enormously tall and had the longest limbs I've ever seen. His arms were almost like tentacles and absent of any bone. He was wearing a black suit and tie, and as I looked up, I became horrified to learn that his face had no features. No nose, no mouth, no eyes. Just a complete void. I couldn't put the car into drive, I was so shocked. Just at that moment, a voice entered my head, a man whispering. It told me to run my car into the man and kill him. It repeated the words, kill him, over and over. All the while, the man just honestly stood, facing in my direction. All at once, I screamed and slammed my foot down on the gas. I ignored the call of my voice and sped off in the opposite direction, eventually making my way back into town. But Xavier's tale does not stop there. He said a week later, he heard news of a car that had veered off the road near the spot he had his own Slender Man encounter. Unfortunately, this driver hadn't been as fortunate as him and died on impact. Xavier says, "I'm convinced that the tall man had accomplished his goal. I'm convinced that the driver go off the side of the road and wind up with a fate that could have happened to me." If this story is true, then Slender Man is more than just a figment of our imagination and the stuff of internet forums. Could it be that somewhere out there, Slender Man exists and is indeed the embodiment of our nightmares? Real Slender Man sighting submitted by a reader on Ghosts and Ghouls blog. This next one comes from a reader on Ghosts and Ghouls who in 2014 submitted her encounter with what could have been Slender Man. Since she was 2 years old, she'd gone camping in the Poconos Mountains twice a year and had understandably come to love the place. In an effort to share her love for the location, when she was 17 years old, she invited her boyfriend to come along on the trip. On one of the days, they went to a popular waterfall and spent the day there, until around dusk when they headed back to the mess hall. This is when they had an encounter that left them chilled to the core. As they enjoyed a scenic and laugh-filled walk down a dirt road, the author suddenly felt a huge chill run down her spine that stopped her in her tracks. She told her boyfriend that she had a bad feeling, so the two decided to turn around and take the shortcut back to the mess hall that takes you over a hill and through a field. As they made their way down the hill, her boyfriend let go of her hand, stood still, and said, "Do you see that?" Stood in the field, less than 100 feet away, was a tall, skinny dark figure, almost like a shadow. The girl called out, "What is that?" As soon as the words left her mouth, this tall, dark figure leaned forward and then shifted to the left, as though it had teleported. Terrified, the pair ran all the way back to the waterfall without looking back, too terrified to see what could be looming behind them. Carrick Chase, Staffordshire sightings. Carrick Chase in Staffordshire is no stranger to odd happenings and the paranormal. Sightings of black-eyed children, Bigfoot, UFOs and ghosts have been reported in the area, leading people to refer to it as a paranormal hotspot. And in recent years, Slender Man sightings have also increased in the area too. Our first report comes from the 27th of November 2014. The witness says, "At 2:30 in the morning, while I was sleeping, I heard a bang that woke me from my dream. As my eyes opened, I saw a man floating over me. He was so close that I would have headbutted him if I moved an inch. I could see into his eyes. They were a fierce red color that shook me to my core. Although he didn't speak, I knew what he was thinking. It was as though he was talking to me telepathically. He definitely wanted to hurt me, but there was something stopping him. It was almost like he was somehow gaining power from scaring me though. Maybe something bad will happen when he gets strong enough. It just seemed the anger in his eyes grew stronger as I was feeling more scared. The ordeal ended when the man, who was supposedly dressed in black with a hat to match, floated higher and higher above me until he hit the ceiling and disappeared. Then on the 19th of December 2014, another sighting occurred. The witness told of an equally terrifying encounter. "I was awoken yesterday morning, just before 2 a.m, by an odd scratching noise in my bedroom. I instantly sat upright in bed in an attempt to discover what was causing the sound. To my astonishment, there was what seemed like a sphere-shaped shadow by the edge of my wardrobe. As I tried to get out of bed and investigate further, the shadow began to stretch towards the ceiling. It was at that point I found myself faced with the most disgusting and horrific creature imaginable. It was about 8 feet tall and had a white face with razor-sharp fangs. It almost looked like a vampire. I fell back into my bed and the creature started moving towards me. Its arms stretched out almost twice their original length, and I felt claws scraping at my skin. I let out a scream in fear for my life, and the creature retreated back into the corner of my room. It then shrank back down into a ball and slowly faded away. Then finally, on the 2nd of January 2015, this is the witness's account of the event. While taking a midnight stroll around Castle Ring last Friday morning, I happened to notice a strange figure in the distance. It appeared to rise out of the trees and hover over the path around 100 meters in front of me. I don't know if you've ever heard the stories of Spring-Heeled Jack, but if you have, this thing seemed to look pretty similar to all those old artist impressions. It was very dark, but I could see it clearly because of the lights coming from Rugby. It was also a pretty clear night. If I were to compare it to anything, I would say that it looked like a stereotypical Victorian gentleman. Long black overcoat with a Homburg hat. Except, I know this was no flying human. I know that because it had blood-red eyes that shone in the night sky. It also had a mouthful of teeth that seemed to look like razors. Whatever it was, it stopped hovering and descended back into the trees. Needless to say, I did not investigate any further. Now we have to note that this does not necessarily fit the description of Slender Man. We know Slender Man has a blank face, void of any features. However, we thought we would include these tales as the area believes it to be Slender Man sightings rather than vampire sightings. Paranormal investigator Reed Brickley believes it's possible the first 2 sightings in bed were caused by sleep paralysis. Of the third account, he thinks it could be genuine. Whatever creature it was, whether Slender Man or something else, it leaves us wondering if maybe there's something out there roaming the planet. Something tall, thin, and without a face. If any of you have ever had any similar encounters, we'd love to hear from you.